Hello, and thank you for tuning in. And this is another episode of Gear Talk, where I talk in depth about the gear that I use here in the studio. And today we're going to be looking at a new amplifier I just got. It is the Quilter Aviator, and it's the Aviator Gold, one of those in their original Aviator series, which unfortunately Quilter does not manufacture anymore. But that's what I'm going to be using now. I mean, the Quilter 101 Mini Reverb, which I've been playing through for over a year, has really served me well. However, recently I did run into a little nitpick on the 101 Mini Reverb, and I will get into the details of what that is a little later on in the video. But we just heard how cool the Aviator sounds with clean with humbuckers, but also it takes on single coils pretty well here, so let's just get a look at how that sounds. And for the heck of it, just see how it sounds with a little bit of dirt. Not bad. Humbucker mode with dirt. Alright, so anyway, before I get into anything further, let's take a look at the features of the Aviator. Alright, so this is the Quilter Aviator, and this one in particular I believe has a 12-inch speaker made by Celestion. And Celestion, they are one of the best guitar speaker companies out there, and that's one thing I love about Quilter, is a lot of their amps have Celestion speakers, and I'd always wanted to have one in the amplifiers I play. And the Aviator, of course, came in two different varieties. Of course, this is like your main unit, but it also came in like a head form, that where all you have is just the controls here, just this whole panel, and you connect it to a separate cabinet, and you could get one of those. And of course, you had smaller Aviators where the casing was just about as wide as this, and you had an 8-inch speaker, and I would say that would be roughly about the size of a Blues Junior, and then of course you had this, which you could get with either a 12-inch speaker or maybe two 10-inch speakers. But overall, this was a very popular amplifier, probably one of the most popular that Quilter ever manufactured. And this in particular is no longer in production. However, you can still find these for a very decent price on the second-hand market, and I got this in a condition that was almost like brand new. And this is just, well, I can't say enough how awesome these really are. So, and quite frankly, I like this so much that I wish Quilter never discontinued this to begin with. So now let's dive into what the controls are here. And so starting from the left, working our way over to the right. And so you have an auxiliary jack, and the auxiliary only works in channel 1, so it says here. And then you got your regular guitar jack, which can function either way with channels 1 and 2. It's important to note that the channels are just controlled for like the auxiliary and blending the auxiliary with like your main controls here. So your auxiliary jack, that what you can do is you can actually, if you want to play along to some backing tracks, or maybe you're on a gig and you and your band take an intermission, maybe you can plug in your music player, whether it be like an iPod if you still have one of those, MP3, or perhaps the music playlist you have programmed into your smartphone or iPhone. You can just easily plug that into the auxiliary, and your music, your playlist can be played out on the speaker. And then of course this also works very well for keyboards or even an acoustic electric guitar. And I must tell you, when you plug an acoustic electric guitar in here for the auxiliary jack, it just sounds so awesome. And it just sounds very authentic. And best of all, your reverb controls over here will work very well with the auxiliary, and you can definitely get some really good reverb with your acoustic playing when you play your acoustic electric through this. So you have your volume and tone knob here, which control the auxiliary section. And then over here you have your basic controls here. So you have your gain knob, and then you have your 3-band EQ, that's bass, mid-range, treble, and you have your master volume, and you have a high cut knob, which I basically have right up at high noon there. And of course, my personal sweet spot is where I have my bass at high noon, mid-range at 3 o'clock, and treble full blast. Master and gain, I kind of tend to keep those like probably anywhere between 8 and 9 o'clock, because I don't want for them to be too loud if I have to put the camera mics directly in front of the speaker, and I want that to be at conversation level, otherwise that can do damage to my microphone. And then over here we have the reverb controls. I've never seen anything quite like this on any reverb controls, quite like this on an amplifier. Usually for the reverb on most amplifiers you just have a single reverb knob that controls the amount of reverb in your signal, but this actually has reverb and dwell, and the dwell knob controls how long your reverb tails go for, and it just sounds really cool. The reverb on here is just awesome. Although I prefer my reverb come from a pedal, the reverb on here is just so awesome that I probably will use the built-in reverb here sometimes, but of course I still personally prefer to use a stop box to get my reverb, because with stop boxes you have more, you can easily tweak your reverb more, whereas with the controls you can only, on the amp, you can only do so much. And of course this doesn't have a distortion channel, which I prefer my distortion come from a stock box as well, so it's all good. And pretty soon I'll have a second Aviator as well, since I prefer to play in stereo. But this is an awesome amplifier. And you also have the switch here, the on-off switch after the reverb, and this is a little something that you don't see a whole lot of on solid state amplifiers, which is what this is. And this of course is a dual lens which lights up anytime you turn the amp on. And this is not something you see on a whole lot of solid state amplifiers, but it's something I've seen on many tube amplifiers over the years, and I really like it. I think that's cool. Although it might seem kind of mundane to some, I think it's a really cool feature. Definitely an added bonus. Okay, so now here we are on the back side, and the speaker, by the way, let me say it is a Celestion G12 Classic Lead 80. So of course you got your outlet for your power supply here, and let's see what else you have here. Right over here you have the plug for your speaker, and of course you have another outlet up here if you want to plug a separate cabinet in and play through that. And then you have this here, this for your foot switch, if you can find one. The foot switch uses something kind of like a telephone jack, so I don't know where I'd find one of them, but I have no need for the foot switch anyway. And of course you got your send and return for your effects loop that you have in here, which is always a handy thing to have, even though I don't really use that much. And then this is probably the awesomest thing right here. This is your line out jack. That is for microphone cables, because let's face it, placing microphones in front of amplifiers when you're recording, that can be a real challenge. It can be a real challenge just trying to determine the distance that you're to place your microphone from the amplifier, and as well, so it can be quite a drag, but with this you can easily take a microphone cable, plug it into here, and then plug your microphone cable directly into your audio interface, and you can still get the tone that this amp produces recorded into your interface. And so this is a great amp for live gigs as well as recording, and it is probably one of the most superior, and I don't really see myself parting ways with this. But what can I say? It's a great amp. Alright, now so here's a nitpick that I ran into regarding the 101 Mini Reverb. Now, as with all of Quilter's amplifiers, they all interact very well with both acoustic and electric guitars. However, I've discovered this only recently, that the 101 Mini Reverb, as far as my acoustic sounds go, my acoustic sounds just don't come out as authentic on the 101 Mini Reverb. Now, There's a lot of amplifiers out there on the market today, such as the Fishman Loudbox, which I used to own one of those, as well as the Fender Acoustic series. Those amplifiers in particular are all designed for acoustic electrics, whereas most solid-state amps can interact really well with acoustic electrics. But, as is the case for the Quilter 101 Mini Reverb, someone told me that the 101 Mini Reverb is designed more for the magnetic pickups in an electric guitar. Although, yes, the 101 Mini Reverb does work for acoustic electrics in a pinch, the sound is just not as authentic. But I found that with the auxiliary input in the Aviator, and this, by the way, is the original Aviator, as I mentioned. As is with the Aviator, the auxiliary input works really well with an acoustic electric guitar. And so that's what I'm going to demonstrate for you here. So what I will do is I'll play a 2-chord arpeggiated phrase, and I will loop it, and this way you can give it a listen. And I'll first do that through the Aviator, and then I'll do it again through the 101 Mini Reverb, and this way you can hear the difference for yourself. So first of all, this of course is my sound this is the sound I have when I don't plug my acoustic electric into anything. So that's just the guitar by itself. Now let's bring in the Quilter Aviator. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing through the 101 Mini Reverb. one more thing I want to do. I want to just show you how cool the reverb really sounds on the Aviator. So I'm going to start like about 10 o'clock. About high noon there. About 2 o'clock. And finally turn it up full blast. Alright. Now let's see what the dwell does. Turn that about 2 o'clock here. Noon. They're around 2 o'clock. And now let's turn that dwell full blast. And let's turn the reverb full blast with the dwell. Yeah, I rest my case. It sounds amazing. So now for my final thoughts, and I think, as I've stated early on in this video, I really wish that Quilter never discontinued this original Aviator to begin with, because it was an awesome amplifier, proved to be very popular. However, due to popular demand, Quilter did reintroduce their Aviator series a little over a year ago. And this came about when they introduced the Aviator Cub, which emulates 3 different Fender amps from different eras. And I tried the Aviator Cub out once myself, because there's a music store in my neck of the woods that is a Quilter dealer, and it was from going into that music store where I discovered Quilter. Prior to going in there, I never heard of them, but it was there where I tried the Aviator Cub, and it did sound pretty cool. And this year, Quilter has also introduced the Aviator Mach 3, which I have not yet tried, and let alone not yet even seen with my own 2 eyes. But if I ever do see an Aviator Mach 3, I would like to try it out. But this amp probably interacts really well with both acoustic electric and electric guitars, and it's definitely going to be my go-to, and it's definitely the amplifier I'll stick to for both my acoustic and my electric playing. And of course, Quilter, as I've stated, discontinued this, but you can still find these for a decent price on the second-hand market. And if you already own Quilter Aviator or any of those in their Aviator series, if you currently own one, you've owned one before, or perhaps you've played through one once or twice maybe, then you probably already know just how awesome and superior these amplifiers really are. And I've said it before, say it again, I wish Quilter never discontinued this to begin with. So that's my thoughts on this. This is what you'll all be hearing my sound come through now. So with that, I'll see all of you next time, and until then,